Hello everyone, my name's Dr. Paul Rose, and in this short video we're going to be investigating the suitability of an enclosure for a particular species of animal in the zoo. We're going to appraise the particular design and features of the enclosure to understand its suitability for its inhabitants. And the species that we're going to look at for this example is the Caribbean flamingo. So here is the enclosure that we're going to look at. It's an enclosure for a small flock of birds, and we're going to look at the features within the enclosure to consider their suitability and usefulness to the flamingos, their behaviour and welfare, and think about any deviations from husbandry guidelines or documents that suggest good practice for captive flamingos, and how we could go about making alterations to make it more suitable. So let's go on our little video tour. Here are the birds in their exhibit. The first thing to notice is the design and shape of the pool. It's relatively large and all animals can access it. However, it's of a very unnatural design. It has a smoothed concrete surface and substrate, which is excellent for cleaning, but offers little in the way of opportunities for natural feeding and foraging behaviours. Also look at the uniformity of the substrate around the pool, the rocks that are used as a barrier, and the steep gradient and the steep edge of the pool that is a potential trip hazard to the flamingos. We can also see limited options for foraging on flamingo pellet. Birds should be provided with a range of opportunities to forage on flamingo pellet to reduce aggression between birds. The flamingos in this enclosure have access to direct sunlight, which can promote some of their behaviours, such as courtship, but also they have access to shaded areas as well, so they can choose where to be within the enclosure. Consider public viewing. Can the birds be off show? Do they have areas that they can retreat from so that they're not always visible? Also think about keeper access and the abilities to catch a bird in this flock. Will that cause you challenges? Are the birds likely to run into things in the enclosure and injure themselves? Might they trip over the edge of the pool or on the rocks that are around the front part of the pool itself? And finally, think about areas that are specific to particular behaviours that flamingos need to perform. Is there a sanded area in the enclosure, for example, that the birds can use to build nesting mounds? So whilst there are some good aspects of this exhibit, there are also things that we should consider changing to make it bird behavioural and welfare friendly, to improve opportunities for behavioural display and to increase the naturalism of the exhibit that would be more fitting for the birds overall. So here's just a closer example why the pool edge is of particular concern. Consider how easy the birds can get in and out of the pool if they are in a rush, for example, if a keeper is present. And also think about access to the resource, i.e. the water. Are birds likely to venture into the water if they were given opportunities for environmental enrichment or filter feeding in the pool? Are they likely to do that if access to the water is difficult because they have to step up and into the pool? Shallow gradients and ease of access are essential elements of a flamingo pool design that promote good bird foot health, reduce the chances of slips, trips and falls, and encourage birds to be in the water as much as possible. So what have we looked at in this short appraisal of this flamingo enclosure? We have considered the construction of the pool itself, particularly the high edges. We've looked at trip hazards such as the rocks around the front of the pool, and these are potentially dangerous to the birds should they be in a situation where they may be panicking or trying to escape from a keeper, for example. We've looked at the natural substrates or lack of natural substrates in the enclosure, and we've also looked at the uniformity of substrates which may not be promoting behavioural diversity. We've considered the limited number of foraging patches and why these foraging areas should be increased to allow birds to forage more naturally and be free from aggression. We've also looked at resource access. Birds can access sunlight and birds can also access shade, but they don't have opportunities for nest building or other areas of the enclosure that have been managed in a particular way to enable particular behaviours. We've considered the ease of maintenance of the enclosure, the ease of cleaning and filling of the pool, for example, but we need to think about catch-up areas and safe areas for handling birds so that this can be done to minimise disturbance, distress and injury to the bird being caught and to other members of the flock as well. And finally, we've considered public viewing. Can the flamingos retreat and remove themselves from public viewing? And does the public get a decent view of what the birds are up to so their behaviours and their biology can be fully explained and interpreted by the presence of this collection of flamingos in the zoo itself? I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much.